And we're back. So the arcs are how you rotate stuff. Oops. So if you click and hold, you can rotate this object around it rotates around the arrow as an axis. So the blue arc rotates around the blue arrow, the red arc rotates around the red arrow, and the green around the green arrow. So to practice, why don't you rotate these boxes to match what's on the right. So I'm going to rotate the second one a little bit this way, the third one a little bit more, and the fourth one a little bit more than that. Pretty easy, pretty intuitive. Lastly is the scale handles. So these dashed lines with the handles on the end, if you grab one and pull on it, it stretches the object. It actually scales it in one direction. So you can scale it in the direction of the handle that you're holding. You can also hold down Shift, and that will scale it uniformly in all directions. All right, so to practice, take each object on the left and turn it into the object on the right. So I'm going to take this sphere, grab the blue stretch handle, and pull it so that it looks kind of like the ellipsoid on the right. This box has been scaled uniformly in all directions, so I'm going to hold down Shift and pull it that way to make it bigger. And of course, you could use any of these handles to do that. Doesn't have to be the blue one. And then for this pyramid, it's been scaled in 2 but not 3 directions. So first I'm going to scale it with the green until it looks about the same. And then I'm going to scale it with the red until that looks about the same. I think maybe something like that. Yeah, those look about the same. All right, so that is the gumball. If you need help, of course, I'm here. There is also a really good section of the Rhino website, which is Rhino is made by McNeil, and you can search their website for all different kinds of commands. And what's really nice is that it has these little animated videos that show you how the commands work. And I find that to be really useful. So this is a great resource. There is also a LinkedIn Learning course, which you have access to through the New School. And this one is really step-by-step. So if you were really struggling with some of the basic stuff, you could look at this essential training course. It's going to be pretty slow. It might be a little frustrating, but it's here for if you need it. And of course, so am I. All right, creating solids. So now we're going to create some objects. And this is going to be very easy and hopefully fun. So the first one, and the one that I use all the time, this is probably the command I use more than any other, is box. So all you do is you type box. And one great thing about Rhino is that the commands are very intuitive. You basically just type the word that you want to create, and chances are it's going to be there. And if it's not, it shows you a drop down with all of the things that might have to do with box. So the command you want is probably going to show up. All right, so you type box, hit enter or space bar, either one, and then it's going to ask for a first corner of base. So you're going to click somewhere, left click, and then it says other corner of base or length. We're not going to do any specific dimensions today, so just drag a rectangle like this, click again, and then it's going to ask you for the height. So drag your mouse up and click again. That's it. So if you want to create this command again, you can just hit enter or the space bar or right click. Any of those 3 things will start the command all over again. So click, 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 there's your box. All right, so to practice these, we're going to draw a stepped pyramid. So box, and we're going to draw kind of like a big low base, like that. And then we'll do it again. I'm going to start on this corner, drag it across, and go up. And then I'm going to position it in the middle. Another way to do this would be to select this box. If you hold down the Alt key and drag on this arrow, you get a copy, which is an easy way to get multiples. So again, that was a hold down Alt, I use this arrow, I drag it up, and I get another one. All right, now we've got a stepped pyramid, easy peasy. Next one, sphere. Sphere is also very easy. You just pick sphere, and it asks you for the center. You click once, then it asks you for the radius. You'll click again. There's your sphere. You'll notice that these come in with this middle of the sphere in the ground plane. So if you want it above the ground plane, you just need to move it up. And our practice here is to create a very simple version of BB-8 from Star Wars. So what I'm going to do is create another sphere that's a little bit smaller than the first one. And then I'll move it in here and have it peeking out the top like this. There we go. There's BB-8, kind of. Close enough for today. Next one is cylinder. Okay, cylinder, also very easy. You type cylinder, it asks for a base, you click, and you drag out the diameter, you click again, and then it starts drawing a height. So you click wherever you want this height to go. It could go down, it could go up. Here's a cylinder. Perfect. All right, so our practice for this one is to draw a simplified version of this table. So I'm going to start with the legs. I'm going to draw a little cylinder. And then I'm going to use the same thing that I did before. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to use this grid, and that's going to make some copies. So I'm going to make copies going around in a circle. Of course, there are a lot more precise ways to do this, which we will learn later on. But for today, we're just making shapes and moving them around. Not very circular, is it? All right, I'm going to move this guy out. I'm going to move you out. Closer. All right, I think that's close enough for today. And then I'm going to draw a big cylinder that goes on top of them. And it's going to be skinny like this. And I'll just move it up to the top. Boom. Table. Cool. So that's cylinder. Next up is torus. A torus is basically a donut shape. I don't really use these very much when I'm modeling interiors. For whatever reason, we don't have the torus. The torus is not a standard shape, but fun nonetheless. So if you type torus, you'll click and that'll be the center. You'll click again and that'll be the diameter. And then your third click is actually going to be basically the thickness of the donut. So it could be a skinny donut like that, or you could have a really thick donut with almost no hole. So our practice is basically to fill the box below with donuts. And you can see some of them have like more of a hole and some of them have no hole. So I'll leave it up to you how crazy you want to be about recreating these donuts. I've made it too big, so I'm going to scale it down. All right. Next one, let's see. Next one, you know what? This one actually doesn't have holes, so I'm going to move this one over. And then I'm going to do the one in this corner had no hole. So I'm going to do a hand like that. Scale it down. And like this box of donuts, none of these shapes are going to be exactly the same size. Okay. This one has a little hole. Smaller, but still a hole. Okay. And then the last one had no hole. Boom. All right, I'll let you do the second row too. Lastly, cone. Cone is super easy. We type cone. It asks for the base. I click. It asks for the radius. I click again. And the last one is the height. I click again. There's my cone. Easy. So now we're going to draw a traffic cone at the correct scale next to each image. All right, so here we've got an old dilapidated car. So I think a traffic cone is going to be about to there, to like the top of the chassis above the wheel. So I'll type cone. I'll click for the base. I think it's going to be like, going to look like that. And then about that high. Does that look right to you? You know what? It might be a little big. And hold down shift and make the cone a little bit smaller. All right, that looks about right to me. Doesn't help that the car is kind of floating in there. All right, next one we've got this dancing cat. So I hope that the traffic cone is bigger than the cat. I think it's gonna be about that big. Is that right? Do I know how big a cat is? Well, close enough. And lastly, we've got a mailbox. So I think a cone would be about half as high as this mailbox. So something like that. Does that look like a properly sized cone to you? Might be a little tall, no? All right. So there are 3 cones. Cool. Next up, pyramid. Pyramid I don't use very much, but it is fun. So if you type pyramid, this one's got an added layer, so you can tell it how many sides you want. It says center of inscribed pyramid, and then it gives you these options. Almost all of the commands in Rhino come with a whole set of options that you can use. And the one we're going to look at here is num sides. So this is asking for the number of sides. So if I click on it, it says number of sides, and I'm going to say 7. So now it says num sides equals 7. That means it's going to give me a pyramid with 7 sides. If I click and drag out, you can see my pyramid has 7 sides. All right, so to practice, we're going to draw a series of pyramids decreasing in sides and increasing in number of sides. Goodness. All right, so I'll type pyramid. And then do you see how the N in num sides is underlined? That means if I type the letter N, it's going to give me that option. So number of sides, instead of 7, I'm going to say 3. Then I'm going to click, click, and click. All right, that's that one. And now they're supposed to decrease in size and increase in number. Okay, I'm going to delete this to not confuse myself. I'm going to hit the space bar to go back to pyramid. I'm going to type N. I'm going to type 4. And I'm going to click, click, click. I don't think that's actually small enough to be clear. All right, click, click, click. Cool. Now I'm going to hit spacebar again. I'm going to type N. I'm going to type 5. Click, click, click. Nice. And this time I'm going to give it 6 sides and make it even smaller. Done. And then let's say this is the last one. So N, 7, click, click, click. Beautiful. wow, they're really all over the place, huh? Maybe I'll line them up like this. All right, there are pyramids. Cool. So these ones I really never use, but there is a command for truncated pyramid. So why not? We'll type truncated pyramid. And again, it's got the number of sides, which you can manipulate. But the way this works is click, you click, and then you click again, the same as pyramid, but there's this added bonus, which is a fourth click, which is going to give you the top of it. So it could be like this with like a pyramid with just the top cut off, or it could actually be wider on top than it is on bottom. So I'm going to make it wider on the top than on the bottom. And then, so kind of like the way these things are, I'm going to type pyramid, not truncated pyramid, although up to you. And I'm going to draw, oh, I got the wrong number of sides. I'm going to type pyramid, I'm going to type n for number of sides, 5 to match the one that I just made. And then I'm going to try and get it roughly the same size as the top of that truncated pyramid. And then I'm going to use the gumball to put this pyramid on top of that pyramid. So now we're using all of our skills combined. It doesn't have to be exact today. In the future, we'll look at how to model this more precisely. But I think if you can do this, then you're off to a good start. All right. So here's one of these, right? So it's kind of looking like one of these gemstones. I mean, one of the crystals in the crystal cluster. All right, so there's that. I'm gonna do 2 more. So truncated pyramid. This one has 5 sides, but maybe we only want 4. 4 is good too. I don't know, do crystals all grow with the same number of sides? All right, I'm gonna click. I'm going to click again, and I'm going to click a 3rd time. So there's the truncated pyramid. And I'm gonna make a regular pyramid with 4 sides. Try and make it roughly the same size as the top. And I should say that if you hold down Shift when you're modeling things, it will lock it to an axis. That's not really helping me right now, but important to know for the future. All right, so here's the one that's gonna go on top. Ta-da! Just gonna make it a little bigger so that it fits better. Great. There's my second one. And lastly, I'll make this one the shortest one. Maybe it looks like it could be short and squat. I'm gonna do the regular pyramid like that. I think I want it a little bit shorter. And then I'm just gonna position it on top here. There we go. And if I select both of these objects at once, I can use the gumball to tilt them, to rotate them, whichever way I want them to go. And maybe this one is leaning forward and that way a little bit. All right. So now I've got my cluster of crystals. Fun. Last thing, truncated cone. Same deal as truncated pyramid. We're going to type truncated cone. Click for the base, click for the radius, click for the height, and then you get the same thing as the pyramid. You click for the top. So it could be wider on top or narrow on top, totally up to you. Our practice is going to be recreating this dining table. So I will do truncated cone. Gonna make the base pretty fat. Then I'm gonna give it a height, and the top should be, the diameter of the top should be less than the diameter of the bottom. So that's kind of the pedestal base. And then the top of it, you can see, is actually another truncated cone that starts small and ends large. So for that one, truncated cone, I'm going to draw a base that's roughly the same size as the top. I'm going to make it really short, and then I'm going to give it a nice big diameter on top. This, when I put it on top, should look more or less like the table. Well, I think my top needs to be bigger now. There we go. Just gonna scale the whole thing up. All right, so there's our simplified pedestal table. Fantastic. All right, so those are some solid shapes that you can play around with to get started. And next we're going to apply materials.